Hello, I'm Julia Cordova. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do just a quick chart review today because I had technical difficulties all day. I'm kind of tired. So let's talk charts. You ready? Whoop. All right. Okay, so let's start off by looking at ES or SPX weekly futures. We finally got a dip last week again, and I'll be curious to know whether or not you guys bought the dip. I did. I bought a little bit of it. I definitely had a shopping list full of tickers that I wanted, and I did buy some of them. So this week in ES, I'm watching 3803 as sort of what I think would be a nice back test if we were to get it. We started by gapping up on the hourly, but we're retracing a little bit right now. So if it does get to 3803 or so, that will be the level that I think bulls will have to defend. And then if we were to have a ripper of a week similar to this one, potentially we're looking at the 4077 level. And that's sort of where we are right now. We closed right back on RSI, the ambulance support last week, right, almost exactly on it. And right now we're slightly above it. So let's watch that. Okay, let's look at the daily. So from a daily perspective, I did say that I would like to have seen this star line back tested, and we didn't quite get that. But we did hold the pink dotted line, so let's see whether or not on a daily basis we can get above this orange. I think a close above this orange dotted, which is 3880 on the daily level, will be very constructive for bulls if it can get there. If not, and it closes back below this 3781 level, I would expect it to get down to the star line. I actually think ultimately, though, even though I did want the star line back tested, if it does not back test this star line, I do believe it will be more bullish. You want to know why? Because if it does back test this star line, it'll start to look, everybody and their brother will start talking about a head and shoulders pattern here. Everybody, right? They're not talking about it right now because we still have a higher low. All right, let's look at NASI. Here's the weekly for NASI. Dude, it closed almost exactly on this line that I talked about last week, which I think last week was 12666, if I remember correctly, and it held it. It held it. So this week, from a weekly perspective, what I'm looking for, if bullish, would be a close above 12654-ish. These lines are, the markers are not exact. And then we did just kind of get here to RSI support and bounce up and close slightly above. So as long as it can close above there, I think that is actually quite constructive for bulls, for NASI bulls. So let's see what happens. All right, let's look at the NASI daily. So if you remember, we were watching this bot line for a really long time because that was the line that the algos were like obsessed with, which is why I made it into a purple robot. And last week we perfectly back tested it on Friday and then had a nice bounce up and ended right on this green line. So let me get rid of, I'll just get rid of this one, 67285, whatever. Okay. And now here. Okay. So from a daily perspective, what I would want to see as a bull is potentially, if it does go down, because we'd want a weekly tail, at least a little bit, maybe, is this 12441 level holding. And then I'd like to see it close above this 12679. So if it does get back to this pink line, I wouldn't want it going back here. Because below the robot line, very bad. Bad. Okay, now let's look at gold. So from a gold perspective, last week, still a lower high and a lower low. Nothing about the chart from a weekly perspective looks inherently bullish at this time. It is still in a channel going down here. Still had that fakey breaky and down. So I was hoping last week that it would get a little bit lower and then bounce the F up, and it didn't quite do that. So if it does that this week, if we do get a flush of any kind, I would look to the 1662 level as a must hold, so to speak. I mean, it could definitely flash below and get back above, and we could have a fakey breaky down. But I think actually anywhere in here is a nice time if you are considering gold to be a long-term investment. If you think it's going to go up, this is, I think, a good time to start scaling in for gold. From a weekly perspective, again, I'd look for it to hold 1662, or potentially it will go much lower if it does not. But that's what I would be looking for it to hold as a bull there. And then a breakout this week. Let me give you the exact numbers here. I'm not prepared. Okay, a breakout this week would be around 1819 or so. So if it can get above there, that would be a definitive breakout. The key line is still this dashed 1788, and I personally am starting to build a position as of last week and this week here. Now let me look at silver. Okay, so you know, I mentioned last week I was really hoping that we would get sort of that fakey breaky down from this channel and then get right back up. But alas, it, you know, I said it was bumping and grinding against resistance, and then it got rejected. Like all of us who bumped and grind in junior high. Well, I did anyway. I got rejected. Anyway, so from a technical perspective, if we do go lower this week, what absolutely must freaking hold if you are bullish is 24.02. That must absolutely hold. The key line is 26.94. And then if it can get back inside of this channel, we're going to see a lot of squeezing activity. And the channel this week is at 27.34. So hopefully, I mean, I'm still hodling silver in my investment account, so hopefully we'll see some upward moving action there. Otherwise, this 24.02 really has to hold. We had a nice bounce last week, or well, we ended the week pretty much right on RSI support, also on MA support on the 20 for the weekly. So again, you know, we can get a flash down, but really, another week down is going to be super not bueno from my perspective looking at this. So let's look at GDX. So GDX is an ETF that is full of a bunch of gold miners, and typically some of these equities move before the actual commodity does. And GDX actually showed some very promising activity here last week. We flashed below this channel and then closed right back above. So can it go below this week? Absolutely, yes it can. But you know, this was still a lower high and a lower low. And even though the candle looks promising, this week it still needs to close above 31.23 for it to be super duper well, for it to look like it's going to potentially turn around and start being bullish from my perspective. Otherwise, if it does flash down, the lowest of the low, and I don't want to see it do this, is 28.73. The reason I don't want to see it do this is because this dashed line is super key to hold for GDX. So, I mean, it could go below, but then it must close above it, or else. But we did have a nice bounce off of this support week before last. We're still here. We've got some ways to go before we have any kind of resistance from an RSI perspective or from an MA perspective. So hopefully this week we'll start to see some up action. All right, let's look at oil. Oil has just been going nonstop here. The RSI is getting up there. It's at, you know, it's in the 80s now from a weekly perspective. But as long as it stays above, really, I mean, it can go, oil can go a long way down and still be super-duper bullish. I mean, it really just needs to stay above this top MA at this time. I'm going to stop being lazy and draw some lines. But really, oil's just, ever since it broke this, 42.16 level and back tested it here, it's just been super bullish. I mean, just as long as it maintains the MAs, super bullish. And, we had the breakout here from the XOP, which is the sort of basket of oil stocks. Again, there's nothing that at all looks even a little bit bearish to me right now. I mean, it still looks like it's got a ways to go. I mean, it can certainly back test here, but it looks good to me. All right, let's talk Nete. Nete sort of screwed me over last week a little bit because I had bought the dip and it went back above, and then it dipped again on Friday. Yeah, but I did hold it. I held it over the weekend. I'm still holding it, and we'll see what happens because this is sort of a make or break week for me. The reason that I a couple of times I even said this looks so bad I'm going to hold it, and then I bought it again here. I mean, yeah. The reason that I think it looks like it has some long-term potential here is because even though this is not a triple top, it looks to me, this does not look toppy to me. Even though it's one of those, upside down dragonfly candles, it just doesn't look toppy to me. It looks to me like potentially we'll go back here to retest this level and then get above. It just, that's what it looks like to me from a weekly perspective. And I could certainly be wrong. Absolutely. But it's been a laggard of commodities, and I would expect it when it does get above. In this case, look at those two. Now see, they're together, and they're what I thought was supportive last week and was up until Friday. Now they're together, which makes them even more resistancy. So now the plan would be, if you were a bull or if you whatever, the plan would be to look at this pivot of 2.754, which is the intersection of these two lines, which is about where they are. And then if it gets above and looks like it's going to hold it, maybe back test on smaller time frames, that would be a good place to go long if you're not currently long. Or if you are short and you're looking for a place to add to your shorts, that would be also a place to look for there. So either way, this 2.754-ish is an important pivot for Natty this week. And if it does get above 2.985, that will be extraordinarily bullish. Okay, that's it. Make myself big. All right, thank you again so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great trading week, and I will see you on the interwebs, okay? Bye!